Good afternoon. Your attention is called to the report Analysis of Models Usability and Methods Used on Design Stage to Increase Site Optimization. The authors Iryna Kyrychenko, Iryna Gruzdo, Glib, Tereshchenko, and Oleksandr Shanidze. This article is generally dedicated to solving the problems of developing high-quality software that is popular and aesthetically pleasing to the users in terms of building high-quality interface solution when designing a website. In the course of study, a problem was noticed that needs to be solved, namely the choice of models and methods to be used in the process of developing and evaluating the software interface, as well as identifying the main components of interface or application development that most often affect the popularity and aesthetic appeal from the user's point of view. It should be noted that in order to develop a high-quality interface solution, it's not enough to have knowledge of interface or application development, but you need to know and be able to apply the basic principles of design. In addition, it's also necessary to take into account the psychological, psychophysical, ergonomics needs and motives of consumer behavior, to operate with knowledge of the rules and principles of developing programs for different operating systems, and to take into account the peculiarities of interfaces for different devices and different operating systems. Therefore, considerable attention should be paid to various analytical aspects of usability, which in turn are aimed at improving the software interface and enhancing its quality. It's important to keep in mind that the list of problems identified during testing or peer review can be very long. To help you understand them and fix them in the first place, analysts assign them a degree of criticality, high, medium, or low. A high criticality level is assigned to those issues that cause the user to be unable to complete the task or never complete it. Problems of medium criticality lead to the fact that the user spends a lot of time and effort on completing tasks, and his satisfaction with the service decreases. Finally, low criticality problems don't affect the success of task but reduce satisfaction with the service. In accordance with this, a meaningful statement of the research problem was formulated and presented on poster number 3. In accordance with the general process of conducting the research, the study performed a literature analysis, and poster number 4 presents fragments of works on the analyzed issues, which demonstrate the historical aspect of the problem. Currently, there are very few works on the practical application of quantitative usability methods, and those described in the most of them are mostly of theoretical importance, because it's not always clear how they can be applied in practice in the process of designing or analyzing interfaces. Accordingly, there are a need for their detailed analysis and, as a result, the relevance of this article. It should be noted that all the approaches and models described in the literature are aimed at solving a specific task, and therefore can only be applied to a narrow range of subject areas. In existing standards, guidelines, and publications by various authors, the concept of quality metrics and usability are interpreted differently. In the course of study, we adopted those that reflect their essence, shown on the poster. This is the result of combining both theoretical and practical findings. The solution of this task involves the implementation of the following sequence of steps: clarifying the goals of usability analysis that exist in the practice of software development for which it's carried out. Define the main stages of user interface design and in relation to the existing software development life cycle of the selected type. Consider the main classes of usability methods. Critically analyze usability methods used at the design stage. When we consider user-centered design, we understand that it's necessary to optimize the product around how users can, want, or need to use the product, rather than forcing users to change user behavior to fit the product. In other words, the development process is based on principles that will ensure that the design is user-centered. Design is based on a clear understanding of users, tasks, and environments. Users are involved in the design and development process. The design is guided and improved by user evaluation. The process is iterative. The design responds to the user experience. The design team includes multidisciplinary skills and perspectives. The study identified and summarized the main problems that may arise at the software design stage. The result is shown on poster number 7. In the modern practice of usability analysis, there are following goals for which it's carried out: correcting interface errors, objectives to identify interface errors and get recommendations for improving software usability; increase of key software metrics, objectives. They identify growth areas, formulate hypotheses for improving KPIs and increasing revenue. Determining the development vectors, tasks. to assess the state of software usability, point out obvious errors, and determine the vector of work on software. All of this allows performing software evaluation in a uniform manner for different projects and thus reducing the uncertainties that arise during product implementation in the absence of statistical data on similar software topics. User-centered design asks questions about end users, their tasks and goals, and then uses the findings to make development and design decisions. User-oriented design for a website, for example, seeks to understand users' needs. The goal that was chosen will determine the depth of the usability analysis, its focus, and what stages the user interface design process will consist of. At the same time, it's also necessary to determine the criteria the software must meet in terms of usability. There are a large number of articles devoted to determining the most attractive criteria among them, and the following can be distinguished. We can make a general conclusion that in practice, the most commonly used usability criteria for evaluating interfaces and efficiency, learnability, productivity, and satisfaction. According to this criteria, it can be concluded that the most usability criteria are based on the psychology of human behavior, and conducting such an assessment is quite a difficult task. This is because it's necessary to analyze the ease of navigation and search, the relevance of information, the degree of user satisfaction, and other factors. Thanks to the following criteria, we can formulate the distinctive characteristics of high-quality interface: style flexibility, joint increase of functionality, scalability, independence from resources, cross-platform compatibility, multimedia, etc. Also, the need to use certain criteria is determined by the usability testing tools used in the process and type of software being developed. Design development starts with people and ends with resources that reflect their individual needs. The study found that the stages of user interface design for different types of software vary considerably. Accordingly, in order to facilitate the process of selecting technologies, models, methods, and metrics for interface development and evaluation, the study summarized existing process. The existing process of software design development were summarized, and the results are shown on the following slides. In general, the user interface development process can be divided into the following main stages: studying the goal and objectives of software and the composition of the required work, determining methods, metrics, and criteria for evaluating the software, collecting and analyzing information from about users and creating user scenarios, interface development and implementation, confirmation of the quality of the created interface. The application of the above user-centered software development process enables each company to evaluate not only the general standards parameters of software quality, but also to focus on the key interface features of each specific solution. The 14th poster shows popular software estimation methods at the design stage, which allow measuring the values shown on the previous slide, using different metrics depending on the stage of software implementation. To facilitate the process of selecting, we have studied those based on the description of business process and allowing to detect changes in individual parameters related to the development, implementation, and operation of software that are specifically related to the evaluation of interfaces. In the course of analysis, in accordance with the general process of user interface development, the existing usability models and methods were divided into three classes: qualitative, quantitative, mixed, and evaluation technologies. For this purpose, the study developed tables that allow selecting the necessary usability models and methods used in the process of developing and evaluating the software interface depending on the calculated criteria and implicit criteria, which in turn allows selecting the necessary metrics for assessing the quality of the software within the framework of the main indicators used for project estimation, shown earlier on posters number 8 and number 9. There is no ambiguous answer to the question of which usability assessment method should be applied in practice, because the use of usability testing tools depends on the type of software and evaluation standards and metrics adopted by the company, budget and business focus. If you have time and resources constraints, you should start with the simplest and least expensive techniques, namely qualitative ones. In accordance with the above, we can conclude that each of the above technologies, as well as the selected models and metrics, in one form or another, affect the assessment of interface quality factors. At the same time, the numerical expression of a factor is a linear combination of values that affect it. Quantitative models for evaluating interface design allow you to reveal and formally record the most important aspects of human-machine interaction. Most often, a quantitative analysis measures a number of quantitative indicators that are indicators of three components of usability. This data is compared with the indicators of competing products, the other interface options, and previous version of the system, or with the target indicators set at the beginning of the system development. By choosing the right models, methods, metrics, and characters in accordance with the generalized design development process provided, you can formulate basic usability standards, reduce software development and technical support costs, increase software sales and popularity, and reduce risks. Then the necessity of using several types of methods in designing, developing, and performing the examination of the site interface was checked. For this purpose, the tourist site Khalupa name is hypothetical, as the real company asked not to disclose the name so that it wouldn't affect its activities, was considered from the point of view of a company entering the market and according to the tourist niche it occupies. It should be remembered that the website primarily forms the expectation of consumers, but this doesn't mean that the expectation of a travel service will coincide the actual service received. Therefore, even small mistake can turn away potential customers and affect the company's image. It should also be remembered that if it's a product that the consumer didn't like, they have the right to return it to the seller. A travel service cannot be returned due to its non-preservation properties. Therefore, the website should take into account not only technical features but also geographical, national, ethnic, mental, etc. differences between the services provided producer and its potential consumer. Thus, a tourist product includes the following three components: a tour, additional tourist and excursion services, and guides. On the current version of the Khalupa Tour website, the series outlined above were tested, and then a table of problems was compiled according to the type to which they belong. Based on the results of the check, it was decided to develop a new one that would support new technologies. The old one was based on the outdated PHP 5.6 technology and had a number of features in both design and functionality, which in turn affected the overall perception. In accordance with the generalized process of development a user-centered design, a competitor analysis was performed, and the results of the most common problems of competitors are shown on poster number 19. Also, based on the results of this check, it was decided that it was necessary to add promotion, sales, and possibly upcoming holidays to the main page, as other larger travel agencies have long since begun to use. It's also necessary to take into account the peculiarities of people with disabilities, namely visually impaired users. For more detailed analysis and confirmation of the quality of the created interface and to provide recommendations, we further analyze it using Fitts law, which is reflected in the article itself. Khalupa's tour research also identified the main user trends. The most important things for user are a clear structure, pleasant appearance, the elements present don't distract from their content, presentation of information without repetition, ease of perception, etc. All this allows you to analyze the market and competitors more specifically. The next step, in accordance with the task, was to identify and select models, methods, and metrics that would be used to develop and evaluate interface. Methods and models used during these steps are shown on this slide. In parallel with the results obtained, the requirements for the new site were agreed upon and then interface solutions were developed. They were tested on pilot users and then regular consumers were invited to use the new version of the site and provide feedback. The result of the website development was implemented by Khalupa Tour Travel Agency in its operation. As a result, despite the difficult condition in the country and due to certain restrictions, the travel agency managed to retain its contingent of clients and employees and stay afloat last year. At the beginning of this year, a positive trend was noticed in terms of attracting new consumers thanks to a good interface solution. The improved generalized process of development user-centered software design makes it possible to make a detailed assessment of necessary work. It's an effective tool for studying software ergonomics. In the course of the research work, the results presented on poster number 21 were obtained. As a conclusion for the entire work, it can be noted that the results obtained allow us to identify the objective need to use various sets of characteristics and subcharacteristics to assess the quality of innovative software. All the research tasks set at the beginning of the work have been solved. It has been provided in practice that it's necessary and mandatory to use analytical aspects of usability, which help not only to facilitate the software development process but also to calculate and take into account the necessary metrics used in the design process in advance in order to further positively affect the popularity and attractiveness to the user. In this work, a comprehensive multi-level approach to analyzing the effectiveness of the user activity and software ergonomics was applied on the example of Chalupa tool, which in turn allowed to influence user satisfaction and affect the popularity of software itself. The obtained results will allow us to continue work on analyzing statistical metrics for software evaluation used in the development of software projects throughout the entire software development life cycle. Thank you for your attention. The report is over.